The CGC Top 10 Countdown is back. We've taken a little bit of a break for the last few months with this video series, but it is now back and we are going to count down the top 10 most submitted books into CGC for grading for the month of June. And as a reminder, this data comes to me directly from CGC prior to them grading these books. And I will tell you right now that there are a couple of books on this list that are a surprise. Sound off in the comment section and let me know if you agree. Stay tuned. This video is sponsored by Shortboxed, the easiest and safest way to buy and sell comic books, both raw and graded. Download the app today using the link in the description. Reggie here, and I want to welcome you to another one of my videos. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, I want to invite you to do so now, but without any further ado, let's get to the list. The number 10 book on the list is Amazing Spider-Man issue number 252, the first appearance of Spider-Man's black suit in a regular comic book series. There are 19,778 universal copies of this comic on the CGC census, including 1,627 Blue Label 9.8s. The 30-day average for a 9.8 is $1,590, which is up from a recent low in March of $1,305. Number 9 is Superman issue number 4, the big time collectibles edition released in May of this year. My guess is that this book is on the list because people are working to complete a set of these colorful variant covers. Currently, there are a total of 279 universal copies on the census, with 236 of them landing a 9.8. The 9.8 has a declining 30-day average value of $95. Number 8, Amazing Spider-Man issue number 300, a comic that needs no introduction. Since the last video, the universal census count for this book has increased by roughly 550 copies. 34 of those copies have landed a 9.8. The current census sits at 27,255 copies, and the 9.8 count rests at 1,437 copies. The value of the 9.8 has actually ticked up slightly to have a 30-day average value of $3,787. Number 7, Amazing Spider-Man issue number 26, but this one is the Gary Frank variant, also known as the spoiler variant, released in May of this year. There are currently 196 universal blue labels on the census, with 192 of them landing a 9.8. The 9.8 has a 30-day average value of $53, but that is based upon just 4 sales. Number 6 is another Amazing Spider-Man issue number 26, but this one is the Breeze Comics edition. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find much sales data on this comic, but I was able to find some census data. It appears that 20 copies have been graded so far by CGC, with 7 of them landing a 9.9 and the balance being 9.8s. I also wasn't able to find a photo of this cover online, but if you happen to have it, send it to me on Instagram at Regie Collects. Number 5 is the first surprise book on the list, and it is none other than Isom issue number 2, cover C, from Rippaverse Comics. Currently, there are 566 Signature Series copies on the census, with 552 landing a 9.8 and the balance a 9.6. Given that these comics will not be released before the end of July, I am assuming that all of these comics were actually sent in to CGC by Eric July and his team. To that end, there is no sales data available for this comic. Number 4, Marvel Comics Superheroes Secret Wars issue number 8, another comic that needs no introduction. Currently, there are 23,143 universal copies of this comic on the CGC census. The 9.8 with 5,169 copies has a 30-day average value of $660. Number 3 is Spider-Man issue number 7, the first appearance of Spider-Boy, specifically the Ramos cover variant. There are currently 3,623 Universal Blue labels on the census, with roughly 93% of those landing a 9.8. The 9.8 has a 30-day average value of $108. Number 2, Isom issue number 2, cover A, also from Rippaverse Comics. There are 1,658 total copies of this comic on the CGC census, with 1,493 of those landing a 9.8. The balance are all 9.6, and all of the copies are signature series. And the number 1 book for the month of June is Isom issue number 2, but it's the B cover. Given that CGC provides me with this list prior to books actually being graded, my guess is that there are a lot of B covers that have yet to be graded by them that will eventually find their way to the census. So you definitely want to stay tuned for that. With that said, we're going to wrap this video up, and I want to thank you for taking the time to watch. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please take the time to do that. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you need to reach out to me, you can do that on Instagram at Regie Collects. Take care. If you're feeling frisky, head over to SWOLDIERpublishing.com to support our Kickstarter for Isolation issue number 4, dropping in July. And if you missed out on issues 1 and 2, they are now available on SWOLDIERpublishing.com.
This thing on? Mic check. I just want to make sure y'all can hear me clearly. Yeah. Should you practice art, or should art be your practice? I had a question, so I asked it. Not to anyone specifically, but to my inner God, you know? The one that's gonna be a master, the one that's more than a rapper, the one that's an educator, the one that seeks enlightenment. He travels with concepts, he's got the mindset expansive. He understands that his time combined with travel and concepts makes his mind convex. Sort of like when you look at a brain scan, straight off meditation, we was concaving until we had that eternal dialogue that created our dialect. Now we in distinct rooms of pure souls having them conversations. Synergy and combinations. You fly and we waiting. Indian style in the gold.